Hi, it's Lee and welcome to the Tesla Economist. I think FSD will be solved, but I'm not sure to the level that we are hoping or told, or at least not that soon. By which I mean, I do not think it will be as good as a human driver. I said as good as, not as safe. Now, let me explain. Elon's likened FSD to the car being dropped off absolutely anywhere in the world and immediately knowing how to drive itself. Similar to the intuition a human driver has. We can quickly work out what side of the road to drive on and pick up the various local traffic rules. I must have driven in over 20 different countries, some areas which have been quite backwards but managed nonetheless. This is what a human is capable of, and able to work out the rules of the road and adapt fairly quickly, due to our organic brains. Tesla is trying to create a synthetic brain called a neural net, capable of the same thing, using the same senses humans use when driving, which is mainly vision and some hearing. Just to interject first, before you all comment, now Tesla is soon, for lack of a better word, to release version 12 FSD, which is something like a 99% rewrite around AI, which is basically a totally new version. It has been rewritten as version 11 was making great progress to start with, exponentially, but eventually the progress became logarithmic. Elon admitting that this is why he gets overexcited about FSD progress. It starts making massive improvements, and it looks like it will continue and thus be solved, but then the level of improvements taper off, hence the logarithmic progress. Okay, beside all that, I still think now we are a long way from the car knowing how to drive itself anywhere. Well, at least not this decade, perhaps. There are many great FSD trips we can see on YouTube, but we don't know how many trips that these people are not showing when things don't work out. They may post a trip that lasts 1 hour with no interventions, but it might have taken 5 trips in order to achieve that. These also might be in areas where FSD happens to work much better, with less challenging edge cases also occurring. There are plenty of other scenarios or areas where some FSD owners say they always have to intervene, so it is possibly a biased sample. But nonetheless, at the same time, we have seen Teslas manage a trip of an hour or whatever, and drove itself from one location to another without any interventions. So I am in no way trying to detract from just how impressive that was, as it is absolutely amazing and there is nothing else remotely close to achieving anything similar. But is it moot if this is only 1 in 5 trips perhaps? At least when it comes to robotaxis or level 4 or 5 autonomy, where the driver no longer needs to concentrate. It is still an absolutely fantastic ADAS in its current level. However, if we want full autonomy, then I think we need to be talking about Tesla doing about 1,000 trips in a row without any intervention until we're at the level of safety we want. And okay, an intervention isn't probably quite as bad as I'm making it out. Remember, it means the driver is taking over. It doesn't mean that Tesla would have necessarily crashed or even injured anyone. It just meant the driver was not confident enough in that instant to let the Tesla continue. Either way, a passenger should feel safe at all times. I'm saying that we are perhaps a while off for 1,000 non-intervened trips in a row, and Tesla's FSD is working much better in some areas than others, which is my point on how FSD may actually roll out, starting in some areas rather than others. It will be geofenced, at least for robotaxis. Say, for example, perhaps robotaxis might be rolled out into Las Vegas to start with, maybe around the Strip, and a 5-mile radius around that, or whatever. I only use Las Vegas as an example, as the Boring Company and by association Elon already have a good relationship there. And obviously there is plenty of demand for taxis and Ubers already there. But in actual fact, Tesla already have all the data. They can see what areas, towns, cities have the least interventions, i.e. where FSD is working the best already, and thus potentially commence in these areas and expand from there. It may be a small town in some random place, but it works where it works, for whatever reasons. We even hear that Musk wants to build his own town in Texas, and this town's transport will very likely be designed around FSD from the ground up, making it very easy for robotaxis to function, generating a unique advantage to the town of low-cost, clean transport. As FSD improves and more data is collected, which will be exponential, then the robotaxi fleet can expand further. As for the stock price, then the market seeing robotaxis actually working and growing then it will look more and more likely it can be fully solved and be rolled out eventually nationwide or internationally. Even if it's only rolled out into a few towns just to start, then that will make the stock market do more than sit up and take a look. It will be a massive step to this thing actually being real and possibly as big as many people think. Even if it takes years more after that still, if we see actual progress with more and more towns rolling out robotaxis, similar to how Uber rolled out in the early days, then it will look like quantifiable growth. I keep saying that Tesla is a story stock and the self-driving car is the biggest part of the story. Anything that Tesla does that further reinforces that story and makes it look more likely that it will truly be solved is going to be very positive for the stock price. If investors see robotaxis working in a city like Las Vegas, or possibly just some small town first, then the market will start to think that this is just the start, and it's going to scale a long way still. Then they'll start putting numbers behind this potential, and the stock price will adjust accordingly. I know some people think that there is just going to be an over-the-air update next year and all Teslas will be added to this robotaxi fleet. But personally, I am not in that boat. I can't see that happening for a plethora of reasons. I'm trying to be objective and realistic here. But the truth is, Tesla are still working very hard on achieving FSD. It is where the big bucks are, and they haven't given up, nor will they. They will continue to make giant leaps and gain further and further a lead ahead of any so-called competitor. Don't forget the data Tesla have too, about 10 times more than all the competition combined. That is ridiculous. On top of that, the full FSD or robotaxi capabilities might not be rolled out to all models initially. In fact, I think that one of the major design objectives with this new model, whatever you want to call it, the compact, Model 2, Model Q, robotaxi, whatever, well, I think it will be more designed around FSD and robotaxis. The fact that it will be smaller for a start will make things easier. It's obviously easier to drive a smaller car as it simply needs less space. On top of that, a smaller car weighs less, which means it will brake in a shorter distance, which means it will need to be less sensitive when it comes to self-driving due to faster braking. So to wrap up, I think we actually could see Tesla robotaxis on the road as early as the next 2 to 3 years. However, I think it would just be in certain towns or areas and starting with the car specifically designed around the purpose. This is more believable to me, at least for now, with the information we have at hand. In the meantime, I hope that we start seeing more legacy autos adopting Tesla FSD licensing, which will make another step change in the level of data that can be collected and help us get there sooner. This would also have a strong impact on the stock price, judging by what happened when Legacy started using the Tesla charger network. Basically, the FSD story is not quite binary. I don't believe it is either safer than a human driver or not, but more that it might be in certain areas first and will improve from there. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.